Hey coaches, Marc Hart here with System Basketball, and today is going to be episode 5 of the mini series here I'm doing on the Dribble Drive Motion Offense with the podcast here. If you're joining us on an audio platform, I suggest that you go over to the YouTube channel, System Basketball, or watch it on your mobile device in the Spotify app. On both of those platforms, you'll be able to follow along with PowerPoint presentation and a digital board where I'll be going over some things today. Today's topic is going to be mistakes I made installing the Dribble Drive Motion Offense. Started running this offense in 2008 and presently still been running it for the last 16 years and made some changes in the way I install it over the last few times I've done this, and wanted to share some of these things with you guys as you're going through your journey of playing drive and space, drive and kick, incorporating this style of play. First and foremost, it is a offensive spacing framework for me. Everything that I teach flows into Dribble Drive Motion Offense. So that being said, I've ran it with high post spread. Think the Oregon coach Dana Altman, Underwood, that type of offense. And once we put it on the floor, we were in Dribble Drive. Also have ran it with some European ball screen, and also have paired it with the Princeton Point series and some chin actions out of it. So today we're going to dive into the mistakes that I've made, and let's get right into it here for you guys. Okay, so that's all right. So mistakes I've made installing. So first thing was I would teach it in reverse, in my opinion, is I was teaching the drop zone first and wanting to get them to have flow and do the kick ups, the back doors, and all that actions, because that is what the kids are going to pick up the ball and they needed to know what to do. But if this is an attack mentality offense, I think the best thing to do is to teach them to attack the basket first. So that was one mistake that I made, was teaching from the drop zone, and we'll get into here in a little bit how I do it now. And then as a new coach to this system of running the dribble drive, found Vance Wahlberg's daily 45 drills, and I would just solely do those for the first 3-4 years, and noticed that it had some wear and tear on my players. We had to get them done. We had to do blood. We had to do all those drills. But what it didn't teach was the secondary player. So made some mistakes there of just solely relying on the 45 drills. Not a bad way to do it, but now with it being so popular and other ways to install it, I would use the daily 45. I still use them, but I don't solely base my whole practice on the daily 45 drills. I didn't teach the transition first. Kick myself on that because wanted to be an attack, wanted to play fast, but I taught the half court of trying to flow with dribble drive, the kick ups, the kickbacks, and so forth and so on. I really should have done teaching transition first. And then I pigeonholed my players. It's supposed to be a positionless type offense. You got four perimeter positions, and a post in the traditional DDM. If you watched my previous podcast, I went over how you can run it out of 5 out and 3 out, 2 in. So it's, like I said before, it's a framework, it's a spacing template, and then you just got to teach them the big 3, which are attack mentality, creating gaps, and then maintaining your spacing as you're driving. So not having my players learn all the positions. So if they were a corner player, would just only have them play the corner, and if they were a slot, would only have them be in the slots. And then if they were so when they got in those positions, they didn't really understand, because the dribble drive creates shots quickly, and players need to understand that it is a positionless offense, and players need to understand when I'm in this corner or I'm in this slot or I'm in this spot, what I do and what I don't do. And it held us back a little bit and created, like, if you have a point guard go down or a secondary point guard go down and you're not having your other players play those slot spots that are initiating your offense, you're going to struggle and you're going to probably want to go away from it, and it's not a good idea for you guys. So make sure that you're teaching your players all the positions and all the spots. Like I said before, on the daily 45s, because it's 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, you didn't have the opposite slot. So the partner in the backcourt with the point guard, I call it, some people will number that the 5, some people will number that the 4, some people will number it the 2 or the 3. But it's basically the second point guard up top with your point guard. And by doing the daily 45s only, when we played 5-on-5, that player didn't know whether they should cut through, receive the pass, and the actions out of it. So I did a poor job early on of incorporating, not working on the slot reads. And then did a lot of on air, the layup drills, the stuff, but noticed that my kids could do them. But then when the game came, they weren't finishing as well as I wanted. So we were doing too many 3-on-0s, 2-on-0s. There was no decision, and there was no defense. So finishing at the rim was easy in practice. The bled drills help with that, but the layup packages that are with the daily 45s that I was doing solely didn't have that component. We weren't playing 1-on-1. We weren't playing on 2-on-2. Didn't know about the small-sided games that are so popular now. So was doing way too many on-air drills. And like I just mentioned, was not playing small-sided games and 5-on-5 now. So those are some of the mistakes I've made with the dribble drive. And how do I install this now? The first thing I do is I want to figure out, how are we going to play out a transition for the season? Are we going to play out of a 5-out, 2-sided break? Are we going to play out of a 4-out, 2-sided break with the rim runner? Are we going to play traditional run your 2 players at the corners, have your player rim run, and then just flow into slots? So based upon how I want to teach that first, make miss, how we're going to play, and how we get to our spacing template for the season. And then off of that, we're going to teach the kick aheads. So across the street, up the street, and then we're going to break down, if they rip baseline, the rotation of the players. So I'm going to show that here in a second. I'm going to go through this little PowerPoint of how I install, and then I'll kind of show you guys on the board a little bit of the transition piece of that, so you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about. Then, like I said, we're going to teach. We don't have the kick aheads. What are my reads from the slots out of transition? Are we going to pass and cut? Are we going to send the other player through? Are we going to set a drag screen? Are we going to ghost it to create those gaps? Then in the half court, I teach from the basket out now. So I teach, if we're in a slot penetration, this is our read. That was a previous podcast as well, where I went over the 4 penetration reads that your players must master. So where are we moving in relationship to the penetration based upon the penetration? So if we went slot, the opposite slot is coming across, opposite corner is lifting, If we're going to go middle drive, we're going to have a relocate by the post. We're going to have to drag behind from the other slot. And that is when I do that piece with it. And then here's the biggest one that changed everything for us. It is teaching the kick-ups last. This right here, your players will do this automatically. So you don't have to worry about them learning to come to the ball. If you're at practice and you're playing, when someone picks up the ball, people are naturally going to come up. So the hardest parts to teach in the offense are the backdoor reads and keeping your players patient in the corner. So by us teaching the kick-ups last, it was a game changer for me, and teaching the offense from the basket out really developed the attack mindset. Before we were doing that, we were having a lot of kids in the blood drills just picking the ball up at the elbows and trying to get to the next action. They weren't being tough. They weren't developing that attack mentality that is essential to running a successful dribble drive motion offense. All right, so now little bonus there for you guys. This is a little 10-day here. These are first 5 days of what we kind of do. I did this in a clinic for the system basketball community. It's inside the community that goes over the 10 days plan that I have of running it. But I'm going to now go to the board here, and we're going to go over those topics that we talked about of the throw ahead rules and what it looks like if we're going to throw the ball ahead. So most of the time we're in the back court. One's in the back court trying to advance the ball up the court. So if we pass the ball to the two, now we're working on those reads, and we're going to go baseline read, baseline drive, and we'll go layup, tee up, fill behind, 45. So that's one way that will show them. If 3 came up and we made that pass, 2 would have to fill corner. And if 3 ripped and went middle, 5 stays. We don't really like the baseline drive on the 3 side. Puts 5 in an awkward spot, but that's what they would have to do. And now we're teaching them how to flow out of transition. Now, the aspect of we've taught all this, the 2 and 3 are not open. Let's get my 2 back in the corner here. And what options do we have? 2, 3 aren't open, so now 1 is going to decide, am I going to attack the rack? Do we pass and make our corner cut or our fan cut? Pick one of those, put an automatic in. These are, for us, this is a through cut. This is a fan cut. Are we going to drag ball screen it? Are we going to is 4 going to through cut? Other people refer to that as a slice cut. Are we going to have an automatic where we reverse the basketball and get into wave action that I've discussed before, or an automatic when you go swing? So if we get pushed out wide, we may have a DHO option. So those are all the things we start to put in. And then once we've gotten that stuff, now we've taught, on one of the days, we've taught the drop, the backdoor, but The last thing what we're teaching the offense, teaching this offense, is this pickup and this pass. Because like I said before, if this is an attack mentality offense, why are we teaching our kids to pick the ball up at the elbow first? So hopefully you guys learned a little bit on this recent podcast. Let me know in the comments what you want me to discuss on a future podcast. And best of luck to you guys. Make sure to like, subscribe to the podcast so you know when the next one's coming. And have a great week.